Alright, so it's April, so we are officially out of March, so it is time for a What I Read in March video. So, I ended up reading 7 books total. The first book I read was The Paris Daughter by Kristen Harmel, and I rated it 4.5 stars. It had amazing characters, a great storyline, and good symbolism. And then the second book I read was a thriller and technically, I guess children, since it was aimed at more junior high setting. I don't know if that's young enough to constitute as young adult or not. Probably not, I don't know. Blood in the Water by Tiffany D. Jackson. I ended up rating it only a 3. It was pretty predictable and there are too many tropes. What got me into wanting to read it was I watched a video on TikTok from, I think it was Heather the Contoured Librarian, and it was a popular book at her school, and I think she showed the trailer in the video, and they made it look really, really good, which made me want to read it, but sometimes trailers are deceiving, so. That's a library book that I've already returned, so the next couple ones are going to be the same. So I don't have them on me. The next book I read was Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs by Caitlin Doughty. This is nonfiction. I rated it a 4. There are interesting facts. I just kept reading and reading it, and I ended up reading it in one day. If you don't know who Caitlin Doughty is, she's a mortician, and she has a channel here on YouTube that's pretty popular, and I've watched her for about 10 or so years now, and, excuse me, I read her first other books, so I think this is the last book she's written. I don't think there's any other after this as of right now. Again, that was a library book that was returned, so I don't have it on me. The next book I read was a memoir called Raising Cubby by John Alder Robison. I don't ever seem to pronounce that right. I rated it 4 stars. The first half felt like pretty slow pace, but after that it started to pick up, and it was a great story with great insight. If you don't know who he is, he's, well, at the time it was called Asperger's, but I know that now it's outdated, because I think it was written in 2013-ish, maybe before then, but now we know that that's outdated and it's more like autism spectrum disorder, so he's just on the spectrum. He's the older brother of Augustine Burroughs, who I really love too. I've read John Alder Robison's other 2 books before that, Be Different, and I forget what the other one was called, but I read both of them. So I was in the mood to be reading another one of his books, so I went ahead and did that. Again, that's one I've returned to the library, so I don't have it on me. The next one I read is a book about that the subject is grief, and I guess it's considered a children's book again. She's in 7th grade, so I don't really think that constitutes as young adult. Again, I heard about this from, I think I heard it from Heather the Contoured Librarian, or it might have been me in the media center, I'm not sure. I think they both talked about it, and it got me very interested. It's The Thing About Jellyfish by Ali Benjamin. And I ended up rating that 5 stars. It was, oh my god, such a good book. That's another one I finished in one day, by the way, because I just kept reading and reading and reading it. It was a beautiful novel. I really loved how they showed the grief through a seventh grader, so she's like 12, so like, that's so much different than someone who's a lot older and experiencing, because it's her best friend that ends up dying, so it's like a whole nother layer or element to it. Like imagine at your age now, if you're an adult, imagine that happening when you're like 12. It was, oh my god, so good. The next book I read, I keep pronouncing it Molokai, and I know it's not how you pronounce it, but I forgot how you pronounce it. By Ellen Brennert. This is a historical fiction. I rated it 4.5 stars. It had lovable characters and amazing storyline. It took place from, I think, 1891 to 1970. So it jumped ahead a lot of years. Like, not every chapter, but like every few chapters or so. And that was great because we got to see her whole life pretty much. But considering what it is, so she ends up with leprosy and gets sent to Molokai, which was like the leper settlement. And it's kind of slow pace because of it just taking place on, a settlement like that, but it was really, really good. You just have to get over that it's a little slower paced. Because some historical fiction can be like that. The last book I read was Animal Farm by George Orwell. I think it's considered a satire. I rated it 3.5 stars. It gives you a lot to think about. For me, it was a book for a book project. It wasn't assigned to me, but I'm in my last semester before getting my associates, and this was a required class for me to be taking. It's British literature past 1900, so it had to be a book by a British author past 1900. So I really like the sheep euphemism. I mean, every single character really has, like, is a euphemism for someone or something in terms of communism. But I like how the sheep basically act like sheep and just blindly, do whatever. Or, chant whatever. The whole 4 legs good, 2 legs bad thing. I just like how he made use of that. So, as for my read through the alphabet challenge, I did make a lot of progress. The Paris Daughter gave me the P. Blood in the Water gave me a B. Raising Cubby gave me an R. The Thing About Jellyfish gave me T. And Animal Farm gave me A. And Molokai gave me a one-word title. So, I think I only have... Because the book I'm reading right now, which I'll be finishing in April, it's an S book, so I already have that. So that won't be making me any progress. I think I have 9 letters left, which isn't bad for just being in the beginning of April. So I read 2 historical fictions, 1 memoir, 1 thriller, I guess 2 children's, one specifically being grief, a nonfiction, and a satire. So I actually the first 2 months ended up being 6 books. Excuse me. But because an Animal Farm I read in one day too. So 3 books I ended up reading in one day. So that helped me to read more books because it didn't take me more than one day for like almost half of what I read. So I ended up reading one book more than I've been reading. Because, like I said, January and February were both 6 books respectively. And I wasn't sure if I was ever going to get any higher than that. Excuse me, especially since I'm still in school this semester and I won't be during the summer, so I'm thinking that I'll probably have a whole lot more time to be reading. So I'm thinking the numbers will be going up once we hit like mid-May. So yeah, I read 7 books in the month of March.